which is what we built into this budget, we actually predicted a decrease of $250,000 in adequacy aid. So that's how I would answer it to a board member or to anyone in the general public. If you came in to talk to me in my office, I'd actually say, hold on, where are you from? I would log right into your website and I would say, so let's take a look at it. And that's about all I can do. Or I would say, go to the assessors. They know what they're doing over there.
That's the best place to go.
Yeah.
Okay, just to reiterate, I did not see anyone say that this was not an adequate explanation. In fact, it was complimentary. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, good. We have unanimous decision on that.
Taking notes on that, right?
I would
Good job, Mike.
like to publicly
Front one out for you.
I would like to publicly commend our business administrator for achieving the goal of making it simple and clear. Thank you.
Unbelievable.
Thank you. I guess that's what we can go with then, Mike.
Okay.
So it looks good. Any further comments on this before we leave this quote workshop? Yes. from
I was
the
just wondering
audience.
if maybe for a wider audience, we could get it put online as well? Do you have some short explanation written up?
Put it online as well. I mean, put
Written,
this-
because I know we have the video, but just that, bullet points.
You mean the...
For this handout?
Well, the handout will be part of the board packet. That's
Oh, I
online.
didn't see, but the explanation that you just gave, number one,
Sure.
number of students, number two, state
Okay.
adequacy, number three,
All right.
like that.
I think the request is reasonable to put it out on the website,
Sure.
just like it is. With whatever introductory explanation you might
We'll
want.
make whatever typos on there.
Pardon me?
With the exception of Hugh Hampton. I don't know how that got in there.
Okay. Thank you for that, Amy. We'll consider 9H done and move on to other business. Under other business, I am going to, as a result of some discussion at the budget hearing on Friday evening, I'm going to put forth a motion when it comes time to action items that will ask the superintendent to cause the business administrator to reevaluate the allocation of the $350,000 retained fund balance and report back to us in March at the latest. So there's some question about calculation on that, so we want to investigate that. That's all that item is. The second thing that I would like to bring up is to entertain a motion to direct the superintendent to make contact with Fran Parkhurst regarding some concern, some ongoing concern with respect to the use of the middle school bus parking facility, and to report back to us again by March.
Is that somebody who's I've not heard anything about any of that, so,
That's why we want you to make contact with her and just find out what
okay.
the issue
Do
is.
you have contact information?
Yeah, we'll give you that. She runs the hardware store.
Okay.
Oh.
That brings us to item Z3, which I believe are Ruby's comments.
And Jeff, yeah, I'll go first. I just want to say how upset I was when I listened to the Budget Committee meeting on Tuesday, particularly by two comments. There was the comment about the second grade teacher not needing to be paid as much as a high school teacher, and a high school teacher being, if someone's paid a lot, they should be teaching high school. And thank you, Stacy, for saying you disagreed with that, because you know that high school teachers couldn't teach them if they couldn't already read and write, which they do thanks to the elementary teacher. I actually had to turn the audio off and walk away for quite a bit of time because it was so frustrating. And then the second thing was a comment that the teachers work 9 months. Even when I went to school, it was a 10-month school year, so I don't know where 9 months comes from. But when I was here, I added up the hours I work and divided them by 40, and it was 56 weeks a year. So that's also extremely frustrating that we have people looking at the budget who really don't understand what the teachers do. So I was happy that Skip asked them to get some more information. That's all. That was two different people. Those comments came from two different people.
Consider the source.
Yeah, there were two sources. Yeah. That's all.
Any further comments on Ruby's comment? Hearing none, we'll move on to Z4, which is,
Oh, I didn't, but a lot of people did, and it didn't do much to make them feel appreciated.
Not the feeling of it.
I know. And I know we have a couple, we have moms who were teachers. Was your mom a teacher?
My mom was
Yes,
a
that's
teacher.
right.
My sister was a teacher.
Yeah.
any other comments on Ruby's concerns? Okay, now we'll move on to Z4, which is, Jeff had some facts and information to share with us.
In some of the budget committee paperwork or minutes, I don't exactly know where I came across it, somebody was touting the fact that the school budget in 1988 was only $4.7 million. If you adjust that with the consumer price index, that becomes nearly $10 million. And if you take into account 600% increase in fuel oil prices alone, without regard to food price increases and other school commodities like textbooks increases, we are well over a comparable figure at that. In comparison, we spend less money now. Okay, it was in the budget committee meeting notes on page 3. Was the minutes of, I guess they don't have the date here. December 5th. So while it's nice to look at a $4.7 million number and say how great that is, when you start comparing apples to apples, school budget was way higher then. But I'll also concede there were more students then.
Anything further? Anyone have any comments on Jeff's comment? Okay. We are skipping the consent agenda at this point. And I can find my next page. Wait, before we skip the consent agenda, I went below in my notes, that's why. We're now moving on to item 10, which is public comment. Does anyone have any public comment in the audience? There are no elected officials to go before you.
I do.
Please state your name. and-
Sure. Ann Holleran. I just wanted to make people aware, I don't know if the board was aware, a former staff member of ours passed away over the weekend, Heidi White. Heidi worked as a speech pathologist in our district. Over the course of several years, I had the luxury of having her work out in Danbury for 2 years, and she was phenomenal. She was great with the kids, knew her stuff, helped our colleagues with how to integrate some of the activities she was working with them in small groups into the classroom. Just a phenomenal lady, worked really hard with the special ed department. And so I just wanted to make people aware of her passing. She fought courageous breast cancer, and she will be truly missed by our schools, and so I just wanted to let people be aware of that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ann. Any other public comment? Yes, Mr. Robinson.
Fred Robinson from Danbury. I've heard a lot of talk here today. I've heard board members saying people need to know what they're voting on. I've heard the superintendent say we will have data there to support the information that's on the budget. That we will make sure that, this budget or this board has promised transparency to the public. Okay? We've talked again in the budget about a reduction in staff for the special education department, for things that are going to be happening in special education. So far, there has been nothing discussed to the public about what the actual plan is, other than you're going to be putting in a couple of special education teachers in place of paraprofessionals. There's been no data presented to support that it's actually going to be good for the students, that it's going to be good for the schools. The public needs to know this before they vote. Otherwise, they're going to be looking at a number and saying, look, they cut all this money in special education. Isn't that great? There is no plan. No one knows what the plan is. We in the school do not know what the plan is. We, as in, I'm talking about myself. Okay, I'll use that as myself. I don't know what the plan is. Have the parents of children who have IEPs become aware of what the plan is. Have the teachers become aware of what the actual plan is, what the benefits will be. Has this been tried in other school districts? Has it been proven to work? This plan that no one knows about. Transparency is what you promised us. I'm here at all the meetings. All I've ever heard has been talk about staff reductions and money. No one knows what the plan is. If that plan is not provided for the public before the deliberative session, how can there be any discussion? How can this be discussed? Right? And even if they do, if the public does find out about it, and they say we don't agree with it, the school board can say, well, we're going to do what we want to do anyway. Because you've just proved that by saying that no matter what is approved at the deliberative session, the board can do whatever they want with the money. So, I mean, this is, you know, I guess because I'm here, I feel the need to speak. I was hoping maybe someone else was here to speak on the same thing, because we have parents of kids who don't know what the changes are going to be. We have parents of kids in classrooms not knowing what the change is going to be for them in the classroom. They need to know. We did a presentation on K to 8. It was great, all kinds of data, all kinds of information. This is equally as important as that. So I'm asking the board in some way, shape, or form to present this plan before the deliberative session so that all the people of the community know what the plan is. And I guess that's all I can do right here, right now. So thank you very much for listening.
Thank you, Fred. Public comment being what it is, we accept your comments and concerns. I do refer you, however, to goals that we set for the superintendent. And specifically, goal number 2 was to review all professional and support positions in the district and to make a recommendation for the budget process for any realignments, reductions, or increases. And also ensure that all positions in the budget have a solid job description with specific expectations by the end of the school year. Not to make it a dialogue, just simply to point to the fact that we did provide that as a goal for the superintendent to do, and she did make recommendations along those lines.
So is it fair for our kids?
Again, not to
Let's
make
find
it a
out.
dialogue,
All right, thank you.
but appreciate your comment. We should take that under advisement. Does anyone else have any public comment? Amy?
Hi, Amy Lynn from Bristol. Just to sort of piggyback, I guess, on Fred's comment there, is this absolutely, definitely decided that 12 para-professional positions are being replaced with 3 full-time positions? And also, to Mike's comment about the anticipated loss of $250,000 in adequacy aid, I was just wondering, I came in a little late, did you already cover why we're losing that, or why that's anticipated that $250,000 is going to go away?
I did, oh, sorry.
Again, it's public comment, and we appreciate your
Okay, I
concern.
understand.
Rather than specifically give you that current data, I don't think you have the facts right on that in terms of numbers of positions. but I would refer you to the superintendent for specifics.
Those were the specifics I received from the superintendent when I spoke with her.
Was it 12?
It's more than that.
Yeah.
I think you...
Okay,
I think it's 12, it's
12.5,
12 in exchange for the teachers.
Yeah, okay. Again, I appreciate your
I guess
concern
on
over that.
Fred's comment there, is this absolutely, definitely decided that 12 para-professional positions are being replaced with 3 full-time positions? And also, to Mike's comment about the anticipated loss of $250,000 in adequacy aid, I was just wondering, I came in a little late, did you already cover why we're losing that, or why that's anticipated that $250,000 is going to go away?
I did, sorry.
Again, it's public comment, and we appreciate your concern.
Okay, I understand.
Rather than specifically give you that current data, I don't think you have the facts right on that in terms of numbers of positions, but I would refer you to the superintendent for specifics.
Those were the specifics I received from the superintendent when I spoke with her.
Was it 12?
It's more than that.
Yeah.
I think you...
Okay,
you
But
need
it's
to-
12, it's
I
12 in
think.
exchange for the teachers.
Yeah, okay. Again, I appreciate your concern over that, and any additional dialogue on that should take place directly with the superintendent. Any other public comment?
Mr. Chair, maybe we ought to remind everyone that RSA 91A:3 prohibits discussion of staffing issues in public meetings. So the information we've given out is probably all we can legally provide. As far as giving positions and names, if you give out the position, the name would be easy to figure out. If you give out the name, you violated the person's rights.
Yeah, I think it's a little touchy, which is, again, we have some concern over this. We hear what you're saying, and we're handling it in the best possible legal manner that we can.
But there's no information on the plan.
What was that RSA? 91?
It's right on the front of the agenda.
I mean, you
Oh,
can't
okay,
talk
sorry.
about a
Amy,
plan.
Yep.
when we
No,
talk
you can't
about
talk about what the
personnel,
plan
there's a
is.
whole list of reasons
How is it going to be
why
better?
Great,
What
thank
data
we
is
do that
there?
in non-public.
Thank you.
Basically considered 91. Okay, does anyone else want to take a break for a moment? Before we
Sorry.
do that.
We just kind of
Kathleen.
creep up with our hands every so often.
Sorry.
I guess I just would love to hear a little bit more about the budget, the school board's impression of how guidance will be supported or not supported in all of our schools. I was quite, oh, I'm sorry, Kathleen Connor, Hebron, sorry. I'm just curious where the school board stands with the budget committee's impression of cutting things very much based on numbers, statistics, a recommendation by the Department of Education. As we know that those are sometimes limited, as we talked about earlier in terms of even evaluations for staff, like don't wait for us to do that part, you're gonna have to follow through. And I think sometimes that's what those recommendations are. It's just a basic format. So I'm very curious what the impression is. And I know I just realized you can't answer this.
Without
But it's a concern.
getting off the tangent,
Yeah.
I hear what you're saying, I understand your concern, and I would submit to you that depending on what we come away with for a budget, from A, the deliberative session, and B, in March, those decisions will have to get made accordingly.
And I
To the
appreciate
degree
that.
that the possibility exists that we'll have $22 million from a default budget,
Sure.
it would change the picture than if someone got up and voted to cut the budget another 10% beyond what the budget committee wants.
And I guess if I had to,
Legally able to do that.
okay, and I realize that if I start to dialogue too much, you just stop me. But you mentioned earlier about asking superintendent and business manager to present the operating budget. And with that presentation, I guess my expectation as a taxpayer, parent of children in the school, would be to share your impression of what you agree with and what you disagree with based on some of those very specific items that the Budget Committee did. And I guess I would ask that as a taxpayer. I would hope that I would hear the school board's impression of those pieces. And I have to say, I'm not concerned about my job. I am truly concerned about the children. I'm a pretty resourceful person. If I lose my job for some reason, I'm resourceful. So I really want to make sure that it's known that that's not an agenda for me. I think my concern really comes out of being a guidance counselor and knowing the things I do during the day. So it truly is a concern for the children, and I hope I can hear something at some point, hopefully at the deliberative session, of people's value that they're placing into different things and where they disagree or agree with the Budget Committee.
I want to encourage you to keep those thoughts in mind and to bring that up at the deliberative session. I'll remind you as well that this evening we're about to take a vote on all of the positions that are going to be on the warrant. I also thank Jen LaRochelle for her comments and statement at the budget hearing on Friday evening. And again, I encourage you all to speak up at the deliberative session. And in addition to that, to have an individual dialogue with the superintendent. Any other public comments? Okay, I was going to suggest that we take a 5-minute recess before we go into the action item.
Thank you.
The first action item that we have before us is to approve the presentation of the default budget. What is the board's pleasure for action? Is there a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to accept it.
Excuse me, let me repeat this. We're now at action item 12A, creation and approval of the default budget. What is the board's pleasure? Is there a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to accept the budget that was presented.
In the amount of $22,264,557.
If that's what it says, yes.
Correct, Mike?
Correct.
Correct. Okay.
Yes, it should be right in the articles too, but it's 22,264,557 with that printout that we passed around. Right? That should be the number in there.
Okay, the motion is to approve $22,264,557 as the default budget for FY15. Is there a second? Seconded by Lloyd. Okay, any further discussion? Thank you for the detail and clarifying all this stuff, Mike. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, no. Any abstentions? Vote is 7-0-0.
Okay, I'm not here. I'm
Oh,
going,
I'm sorry. Is she locked out?
6-0, and she hasn't come back.
Okay, I'm sorry.
so I'm going to pass the default budget around. I need you to sign on the bottom in blue.
Yes,
So I will pass the pen along with it.
that was the other thing we wanted to do right away to not forget, because this is instead of going to the Okay, while we're doing that, to move things along, item 12B is the review of the Budget Committee budget and any relevant changes to warrant article votes. We have the working document in front of us for taking a vote on each of the individual articles as to what our position is that should go both on the warrant and in the mailing information as part of the explanation. So I'd like you to carefully consider your position in making the choice that you would make regarding each article. So what I would like to do here is, for item 12B, specifically record separately what the board vote is for each of the articles that we are going to go with on the warrant. I need this one more piece of paper here.
Mike just went to go look for soup.
Okay. So with respect to
Should we go on?
article votes under 12B, we have before us Article 2, the teacher's contract agreement that is going to be introduced and explained by Ruby, as we agreed.